Welcome home to St. Anne's.
Please be seated.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.
Alrighty. I am so excited that we are all here together. Like, so pumped. So I will confess to you, I had planned to preach on forgiveness. I had. And I had this entire thing. I was like, oh, forgiveness, because, it's a big thing. And we all really, really need to be reminded of the importance of forgiving others. Because we're really, really good about expecting or wanting forgiveness from others. But we're not so necessarily good at offering it and giving it to others. We're pretty good about justifying why we shouldn't have to forgive other people. So I was like, this is really important. We really, really need to talk about it. So that's what I had planned to talk about it. I hope you will forgive me for not preaching on that. The reality is, as we are all here together for the first time since March, it's important that we come together as a community. And the reality is, our community will always be a hybrid community, and that's not a bad thing. And part of that is theological, and so I'll explain that a little bit. But part of it is just the reality of the world in which we live. While we have been physically apart, we've still been together. We have been worshiping together. We've been caring for each other in socially distanced ways. We've been trying to keep track of one another, and that's very, very difficult. But we've been very, very blessed with technology that has allowed us to do that. You have no idea how many times in the last 6 months I have given incredible thanksgivings to God that this happened now instead of, like, say 5 years ago, when we simply wouldn't have had the resources to do Compline on Zoom, our prayers of the people and our readings remote. We've been able to bring people in. We've been able to do coffee hour. We've had Facebook groups. So we've had ways of keeping track of each other that we simply wouldn't have had even 5 years ago. But if you think about where the church would have been 10 or 20 years ago in the midst of this pandemic, it would have been a lot more complicated. So I do want to take a moment for us to all give thanks for the fact that we have had the ability to do these things, because it has made evident what we have theologically always said. And the theology of the Eucharist is this, that when we are gathered in communion, when we're gathered around the table, be it this table, that table, your family room table, wherever, we are with God and all of God's creation. That all the saints, past, present, and yet to come, are in that heavenly banquet with us together. And this is a foretaste of that time when we are all together. We've said that. We believe it, right? We taught it in seminary. I preach it all the time. We have open table, even though I sometimes have to argue with other Episcopalians about it, but, The theology has always been there, that in the Eucharist, we are all together. But sometimes, our faith and our beliefs have to catch up with what we actually think. And we have so often lived in churches and communities that are insular, that are strictly the 5, 10, 20, 100 people that are sitting in those pews. That's what we think of as our church. And we have had to learn in the past 6 months that that's not what church really is. And it's one thing for us to preach it. It's one thing for us to tell other people, oh no, the church is everybody. And oh no, baptism is this. But have we really lived that? Have we? Until 6 months ago, I'm not sure a lot of us as Christians did live that. But in the 6 months that we've had, we have lived it. We have learned that it's true. We have learned that communion and Eucharist are wherever we are. Sometimes it's online. But even online, we are together in that. That is why there's a Book of Common Prayer. Do you know why there's a Book of Common Prayer? Because it's supposed to be common prayer. That no matter where you are in the world, We Episcopalians pray the same. We are in common prayer. For the first time, you and I are living that. We are a community in prayer wherever we are. And we will always be that way. There will always be those of us who are here physically, and there will always be people who aren't. And sometimes those people will shift. And that's okay. Because we are in common prayer. We are a community together. And the reason I don't want to preach about forgiveness today is because we need to get caught up. Because we haven't necessarily been physically together, there are things that we've missed. We haven't seen each other. So one, I want you to turn around and I want you to look at each other. Say hi to your neighbors from a socially distanced way. Say hi to our online people. Hi, online St. Anne's. We're so excited you're here. There are things that we've missed. We have weddings coming up. We've had people who have passed away. So say hi to our wedding coming up. Woo! We have a wedding coming up. We've had people in our community pass away. And they're still with us. Because we are what? In common prayer. We are together. And even in these huge life moments where it feels like we're so alone and apart from one another, we've been together. And we are together. And we will always be together. And I hope finally, that what we live and what we believe is the same thing as what we theologically preach. That we are together. And so I'm not going to ask you to forgive people. I'm going to tell you that, dang it, you probably should if you want it. If you expect God to do it for you, I really, truly hope you're doing it for the rest of God's people. But you know that. We know those things. You know what I'm going to preach. You know what I always preach. I preach loving everybody. I preach don't judge anybody. And I preach forgive everybody. You know my sermons. That's not what you need to hear today. What you need to hear and what you need to see is that we are in this together. That we have always been in this together. But for the first time, I hope we really, truly understand that we are in this together. That when we are gathered in prayer, that when we are gathered at this table for Eucharist, even if you're not physically at it, all the saints, past, present, and yet to come, are gathered with us in that moment. So we will continue to do this. We will continue to try to be together physically if we can. We will also sometimes not be able to be. And there are folks who attend our church who don't even live in Missouri. And that's pretty awesome. And there are folks, you might be traveling, and we've been doing this for a couple of years, so when you're traveling, you're with us anyway. But for the first time, do you feel it? Do you feel it? For the first time, do you feel the reality that all of us, all of Christ's people, are together? Always, always, always. We always have been. But I hope today, for the first time, you can really think about it, that you can really consider the fact that you are not alone in this. You never have been, and you certainly aren't now. And you never will be. You're in this together. But also forgive people too. That's good too. That's important.
We want you to know that you're welcome to join us at 10 a.m. on Sundays.
All right.
Please be sure to hit subscribe to receive our sermons. We can't wait to meet you.